Like you, I was also one of the students here, sitting somewhere here in the front row or the second row max. Gave a attempt, failed that attempt, cried. Then got motivated again. I think sir motivated me a lot to give one more attempt because I was almost on the verge of quitting. So I enjoyed coming to the classes. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that after the classes were over, I used to always be in the library. Peer group is also very important. And I made friends here. So they kept motivating. So you get to know what they're doing, what they're not doing, you discuss. And I think that also pushed me. I think I had a very flawed strategy in the 2020 attempt and I completely changed it in the 2021 attempt. And that is the time I actually took this exam as an exam and not like I have to do a PhD in this. So I sat down with the syllabus, I think properly for the first time in 2021 attempt, took each and every keyword, managed to decide what all should I study. I limited my resources. Like I had a cupboard full of notebooks for notes. I got rid of all grammar rules, no and the. All grammar was gone, just to the point, bullet points, and I think that really helped.
Right.
So I think anyone and everyone can do it. It's just that you need to have the right amount of patience, right amount of guidance, and right amount of motivation and correct intentions to do the exam.
Good afternoon. Okay. So, I have the pleasure of introducing her. Just some time back, she was one of amongst you, right? And she has got a very illustrious character and career. And I would like her to introduce herself. Okay? Myself is Souvik Sen. To my left, there is Kritika Madam. She will be taking on history. I would be coming for ethics. And Sonali Dev is all yours. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible. So I think first of all, thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. I think they were my two most favorite teachers here at Rouse. So I feel very honored that I am able to sit here with them. And so this year I've secured All India rank 41 in the examination. And like you, I was also one of the students here. And but sitting somewhere here in the front row or the second row max. And a little bit more about me. I have done my engineering from Delhi College of Engineering in 2015. Then I worked for a year in PayU as a software developer. I think I worked for 10 months, gave CAT. Then went to IIM Calcutta to pursue my MBA. Graduated in 2018. So worked for another year in Goldman Sachs till 2019. Left the job, started preparing, joined the foundation course for 2020. Gave an attempt, failed that attempt, cried. Then got motivated again. I think sir motivated me a lot to give one more attempt because I was almost on the verge of quitting. Then gave the 2021 exam and then got through. So this has been a brief about my journey. I think this is all. Apart from that, apart from the academics and work X, I think I really enjoy playing basketball, have been an avid basketball player, and something that that's something that's very close to my heart. So we will take the session further. So then.
You really played basketball?
Yes, I was a state level player.
Okay. Oh my God. I was of the impression that basketball players are supposed to be quite tall.
So I think that also that practice, hard work, and knowing what your strengths are.
Okay.
Helped me in basketball also. So because I was short, I was very agile. So I used that as my strength.
Okay. Sonali, first of all, you share your experiences with them during the course of your preparation, and then we will invite questions from them.
Okay.
How was your preparation?
Ma'am, I started, when I left my job, started preparing. I had no idea. The second day I left after leaving my job, that where to begin. I had no clue. I had just heard that there are some coatings, there are some books. I really didn't even know the books. I didn't know what optionals are there. So I actually went on, like people go house hunting. I went coaching hunting and book hunting. Then I visited almost all the places, interacted with many teachers. Then I found that I want to join Rouse. And then I came, paid fees and everything. Then even then I had no clue. I was a very overconfident kid at that time. I think that also backfired in the 2020 attempt. I straight away went to sir and said, I need all the books right now. Like all the material of 1 year right now. And he said, that's not possible. And he actually calmed me down and he said, like, you start with this, we'll see. And so I think I was very enthusiastic. That I think did pay off somewhere, or motivated, but overconfidence also kills. Then I think it was a very long journey because you are required to study a lot and it takes time. So if I try and finish everything in 1 month, that will not be fruitful. That will only just
Recording in progress.
backfire and demotivate oneself. So I think after that I understood that this preparation needs its due time and due diligence. So even if reading one book takes 3 months, give it 3 months, but do it properly. So I think I understood that. Then I used to I gave everything its due time after that. So I remember starting with Lakshmikant. I took 3 months to complete one Lakshmikant, one reading. It so happened that till the time I was actually writing the mains, like I had read it so many times that I could flip it in like an hour. But in the start, I did give it 3 months. So that then I understood by attending classes and everything, the concepts that I was not clear. I think guidance does play a role. So some things, even if it's there in the book, you need to hear it from someone else to get it registered in your mind. So I think classes was my kind of break also, like from the monotonous room that I had. So I enjoyed coming to the classes. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that after the classes were over, I used to always be in the library and meet sir or meet anyone like outside after the library or outside the class. So I think that peer group is also very important. And I made friends here. So they kept motivating. So you get to know what they're doing, what they're not doing, you discuss. And I think that also pushed me. Then coming to the strategy and everything, I think I had a very flawed strategy in the 2020 attempt and I completely changed it in the 2021 attempt. So 2020 attempt, I was under the impression because it's UPSC, it's such a big exam that I need to read everything and anything, I need to be Google. But that's not true. And I tried to do that. And in the end, what happened was my mind was on the verge of overflowing. I could not remember anything, even though I knew everything. And I could not replicate anything in the exam, even though I felt like I have done everything, read so much. That is the time when I couldn't clear mains, 2020. So I came to sir and sir motivated me that no, you already have a good background. If you clear this is only the cherry on the top, so you have nothing to be worried about. Then Abhishek sir and Vidyushi ma'am, they helped me devise a good strategy for the 2021 paper. And that is the time I actually took this exam as an exam and not like I have to do a PhD in this. So that is what my orientation changed. Earlier my orientation was that I have to read everything, I'll do it perfectly. But 2021 exam, I took it as an exam. My motivation was to clear the exam and not have a PhD in everything. So I sat down with the syllabus, I think properly for the first time in 2021 attempt, took each and every keyword, managed to decide what all should I study. I limited my resources. Like I had a cupboard full of notebooks for notes. I think I discarded everything off. In the end, I had just this much, like every subject 50-60 pages, that's it. So because there is a limit to human mind and human capacity, and there is only little that we can do about that. So if you make it simple, make it easy, it will be helpful.
Now, I would be asking one question from their behalf.
Yes, sir.
you have done CAT, isn't
Yes,
it?
sir.
Management.
Yes,
That
sir.
means you have very good English.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, did this very good English paid you or it costed you?
So I think it did cost me.
See,
So what happened was first attempt 2020. I'll just give an example. One example, essay paper. I wrote very simple English. Not much fanciful English, very simple. But 2021 exam, because my preparation was good enough, I felt, and I felt I will increase my essay marks this time. That people score 140, 150. I need to do that, and for that I revisited my CAT books. I opened my management books. I had those all fancy English words and everything. I mugged them up, and I used to use them day to day also.
Okay.
But then this is where I thought I'll show off my English, and and what happened was from 117 it went to 107.
see,
So I think it was a very I learned from my mistakes. Even in GS, I used to write very copious answers. But then 2021, I got rid of all grammar rules, no and the. All grammar was gone. Just to the point, bullet points, and I think that really helped.
right. So basically what she's wanting to say, that you need not have a very great career, or very great educational background to crack civil service. To what extent do you believe that it is an examination for mediocre students?
So I think it is open for everyone, and when I say that is because even after doing engineering, even after doing management, the optional I took was geography. So I think, and because I took geography, it was new to me. Had it been any other optional, it would have been new to me. So I think anyone and everyone can do it. It's just that you need to have the right amount of patience, right amount of guidance, and right amount of motivation and correct intentions to do the exam. So other than that, nothing else is required. And had I been given the chance, and I had such a futuristic thinking, I would have actually preferred to write this exam right after my engineering and not go for another MBA degree and then give the exam.
Okay. Ma'am?
Yeah. Could you share about your foundation course, Nali? Across?
Yes, so I think my first day at Rouse, I was very excited, very, I think, hopeful that, I have to get through, and everyone had the same level of energy. So we are all bubbling with that energy on the first day. And I remember the interactions, and like interacting with people, and everyone had that sparkle in their eye that we need to do this. But later on, I also felt that in the starting weeks, everyone is very excited. Then as the weeks progress, the class attendance becomes half. But I think I had that I was, I really used to enjoy the classes. So I was always there, first
She was
bench.
regular, she was prompt, she never missed classes.
I never missed a class.
She was as consistent as the teachers.
Yeah.
I remember sitting first or second bench max. Even if I was running late, I used to ping my friend to save me a seat. Or otherwise, I would just be in the library, and when the class would start, I would just come. And in between classes, stay in the library. So I think it was a very peaceful escape for me also from home. Because I do get bored of like a particular set of surroundings. So, and I think I am a people's person. I like to be around people. So classes, I really enjoy the classes. So even in tests, when I used to say, ma'am, there were times when in Barakhamba, so the sir who used to give the answer copies, and he used to say that you're the only person who's writing the exam from this batch. And that is why it used to be that I'm actually the only person who's writing the tests, like the
Of the
class
entire
tests
batch.
of the entire batch. There used to be no person there. So I think consistency,
She never skipped a class, she never skipped tests.
even if it
She
was
sits for
class,
discussion, so all of them she was very prompt. So that's one advantage,
yeah. And because when you are in a classroom, you have that option of engaging with peers, engaging with teachers. So I used to barge into the staff room endless number of times because I was the only person who was writing the test. I would take the test and go to sir and then ask him, please correct it right now. And I also remember I had an answer notebook, and I used to give the whole notebook to sir to check, and he used to say कि ये तो 3 महीने लगेगा check करने में, it's so big. But I think because I was that active, that the teachers also
True.
took a very active interest in helping me out. So whatever problems I had, I used to speak. When COVID struck, I was still in contact with everyone through phone, because otherwise they would not have done that.
Basically, your preparation was a kind of celebration.
Yes, so I think foundation classes, one more thing is that like when you read from books, it's everything is there. I think everything is more impact for the examination, but you do not get it registered. Like when you used to teach, I used to remember the story, and I used to remember that story, that in the exam also you recollect those stories for ethics, and then those write those down. So I think that is the difference, that having someone guiding you all the time, motivating you,
Thank you.
is required.
How long did your interview last?
So it was around 35 to 40 minutes.
Look, it's a great deal of time for interview. So what were they digging out of you?
So they asked me everything that could be asked. So it started from my work ex, why I left my job, to positions of responsibility I had in college. Like example, I was in the ICC, so they asked me questions on sexual harassment. Then I had a ward of innovation, so they asked me questions on innovation. I wrote basketball, they had basketball questions and marathon questions. I didn't even mention I read books, but they asked me questions on books and authors, which I didn't know. Then there were a lot of current affairs questions, opinion-based questions, questions on my views on corruption, whether I'm coming into the services for corruption, what will I do, and everything. So I think I did manage to convince them well enough that I have good intentions.
To what extent do you think that intention play a role in selection in this exam?
So I think it is very, very vital, because unless and until you have the right intention, you will be easily demotivated or distracted from your preparation. If your intention is just making money, you join a private job, you will get more money any day. So you will be easily distracted to quit the preparation, because it is very toiling. So you will be easily distracted to take up a job. You will be in 2 boats, and then it will go down the drain.
I would make her point clear. See, she has already got a work experience. She was working in New York, right? And then she realized that this is not the life I want for myself. And she questioned the purpose of her life, and that is why she's so well informed about the intention. I guess many of you are yet to find the answer to this question, why civil service as a career? The day you get the right answer, why civil service as a career, and that answer convinces you as well as anybody else, I think your half job is done. Half job is done.
So very true.
है ना?
Very true.
नहीं तो जैसे many people are not working. Most of them are not working. So they need to ponder on this question. Na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So because I had this intention very clear in my mind, I never got swayed that I need to apply for jobs, even though my colleagues and my fellows from IIM, they were doing very well in their corporate life. And but I felt that if I want to do something, then this is this. So that never demotivated me. And I did get demotivated, but I was able to pull myself back up. And if you have that right intention, it will also show in your effort. You will be willing to put in that effort. For example, sir, I remember in college, I used to be the one who would roam around, and my parents would be like, stay at home for once, please. And it swapped in preparation time. They were like, iski shadi mein jana hai, iska function attend karna hai, and I would tell them I don't want to go. So it became the opposite.
Okay.
So because this time I was very clear on the intention and why I need to do this.
Okay.
So this time around, my parents were the ones who were like, let's go for dinner, let's go see a movie, let's go attend this wedding. And I used to say no to everything because I had prioritized this.
Okay. Okay. So would you discuss your strategy with them?
Yes, sir.
Please.
So for once, like I think when you're starting out, so the first advice is that things will take time. Like even reading Spectrum or attending history class will take its time. Like if you're only able to cover one chapter in a day, give it that day. Like even that very basic chapter, even if you're not able to cover one chapter, even if you're able to just cover like 3 pages and it takes a day, give it that time, because the time you invest now, later on, if you're if everything is clear, if you have that clarity, you'll be able to pick up on those. So I think my basics were very strong in the exam, so I was never confused on the basic things like history timelines or geography phenomena. Basics were very clear, and then you can add on. So if your foundation is weak, then there is no point on value addition. So give the required time to your foundation. Like for ethics, if it takes 2 months to prepare ethics, give it 2 months. If it takes 2 months to just write down your notes of ethics, give it those 2 months. Later on, you will be able to revise those notes in like 1 hour till the exam comes. But you have to have that patience and give it its due time. First, when you're starting out. Then second, after you've done one reading, one basic, everything is done, then comes the role of revision. So for revision, there has to be umpteen number of revisions. No, there is no fixed number. If you think you've achieved the fixed number, if your personal target is 15 revisions, then I think 15 is also not enough. If you have the time for a 20th revision, go for a 20th revision, because there's nothing like enough of revision. So you just have to revise and keep on revising, because the syllabus is vast. You will keep on forgetting. So one strategy that I used to do was, in a day, that if I had, say, a schedule of 8 hours of studying, I would keep 2 hours of revising what I did, what I have done already done. So I had a very detailed schedule of how to revise, which if given a chance I'll also explain. Then I think revision was very key. Then third was
And with every revision you develop new insights also.
Yes, sir.
That's there, na?
Yes, sir. And revision, and
it's not repeating the same thing.
Yes,
every
sir.
time you get something new.
Yes. So every time if you read Lakshmikant, you will find something new coming out of it. One reading, you will just get a gist of what is happening. Second reading, you will get an insight of, okay, the details. Until the 15th reading also, I was gaining more new information from the very same book. So I think the number of revisions are very important.
Yeah.
Just to have a benchmark, if your revision time is decreasing with each revision, I think you're on the right path.
Okay.
So, and that can vary from person to person. Then third will be learn from your mistakes. If you're making a mistake in a class test, if you're making a mistake in a mock test, write those mistakes down. I used to have a Excel sheet of my mistakes, and it's a very heavy file. And every time I would make sure at least once in 2 weeks, once in 3 weeks, I would open my mistakes file. I had a separate file for first mistakes, mains mistakes.
Like?
Ma'am, for example, I gave a pre-mock test and I got a question on, say, history wrong, like in same question I got wrong. So that mistake, like for example, I would just write it in one line. That if it's a factual mistake, I'll just write the fact. If it's a phenomena, I will write that I need to revise this in that mistake sheet. For example, in mains, if there were suggestions like you need to explore more broad dimensions, then I would write that particular thing down, that these were the dimensions I had missed in such kind of a question. So there was a mistake sheet separate for mains. Then I would continuously revise those mistakes. So I would just pick out the mistakes file and revise those mistakes, so that I made sure that I am not repeating my mistakes in the next test, whether it be a mock test or whether it be the final exam. Because that's a sin. Like if you've already done a test, you've already made a mistake, you know the correct answer, and then you repeat that mistake, that's there's no coming back from that. Because if you stick to the basics and learn from your mistakes, I think half the job is done then. Because every time there will be questions or things that are out of reach, but they're out of reach for everyone. And I think they are there only to waver the confidence of students and not there to get them corrected. So basics and learning from mistakes, I think, will do the job.
Any
If you
questions from your side?
Actually, when it comes to write something, it becomes really difficult, like to filter out what to write and what not to, and the way we can understand later on. Like when I started writing notes now, then it turned out to be another book. Or like for suppose ask about current affairs, then it feels really difficult to how to jot down the notes. So can you just throw some light on that? Want to add one more question? As you told about the library thing, that you came out of the room just to get refreshed, so I wanted to ask you regarding the breaks. Since while preparing you need breaks also to just refresh yourself and connect with the, so since I'm preparing from since 1 year, so I don't know, like I'm going consistently, but still I don't know how to utilize breaks, like how much the duration should be, should it be weekly or daily, something like that.
Okay, so I'll answer the first question regarding note making and what is important to write down. I think we should first segregate that when we try to learn things and try to read things, some people have the habit of writing it down, and that is when they learn. So you can have a separate notebook for scribbling stuff, which I also did, because I have a habit of whatever I read, I want to scribble it down. But that should not come in my notes. So a separate notebook for just scribbling down, like you used to have a rough notebook in school, or a rough notebook, you can have that rough notebook, you can fill up pages like that. But that will be only to get, like, discard, you can discard that away after the notebook is finished. For notes, it should only help reduce your burden and not add to your burden. So for example, if you're reading Spectrum and doing ma'am's class notes, then your actual notes should not be page to page, word to word copy of Spectrum or ma'am's notes. It should be something that helps you revise those. And you have to declutter. So for example, if something is in your memory, if you've understood, if you can write it down in 1 or 2 words, that will be enough. For example,
Short note making.
yeah.
Synopsis.
Yeah. Just
So for example,
bullet points.
my target was, if you see the last Spectrum pages where they have judicial and constitutional amendments and everything, I wrote it down in, I think, 1 page, like the whole chapter in 1 page. This was when I started making my first notes. Otherwise I would just read the Spectrum and ma'am's notes if I want to understand in detail what was it. But that is not my actual notes. After that, I just had one word. For example, if I ask Government of India Act 1919, so I just had one word, Dayaki at provinces, then Secretary of State, women votes. These were my notes, like 2 words, women voting, Secretary of State, and I know what the whole thing is. So these notes, like, it was just 5 pages. If you do get the chance, I have put it on my blog and I've made those notes. And if you see, my modern history notes is like 8 pages.
8 pages.
Yes, 8 pages.
Whole modern India.
Yes. So you can have, but you won't get the gist of what I am trying to say, because in those I have just written, like, for example, the question is on a movement. I have notes on what all can I write in a movement. It could be ideology. I've just written ideology. What could be the ideology? It could be moderate ideology, extremist ideology, Swarajist ideology, and this all. But I will not write everything because it's there in the book. And then the second thing was participation. So it could be, I had this dimension in mind, participation of students, women, tribal, peasants, but those details, I have it in the book.
It's like a hint.
So I would just revise these. And if I get stuck somewhere, then I'll open the book or ma'am's notes or class notes and then go back there. But for my notes, it's just this. This is for note making. Then what is relevant for answer writing? First of all, when you start answer writing, you feel everything is important and you'll write down everything in the answer, and a 150 word answer becomes a 450 word answer, and that also happened with me. But the thing is, when you've written that answer, go back as a teacher and try to self-evaluate what is not required, what could you have clubbed. I did so much of self-evaluation that in the end, I was also striking down the extra words that I had. Even if I had written, for example, if there's ethics and I have written an example, I would try and curtail that example, not in 4 lines, but in 2 lines. So try to even see what all words I can skip. So only multiple iterations of that will help you. Then figuring out if I could have written more broad dimensions, clubbing the dimensions. So I think that is only practice. But once you've written the answer, 3-4 times revisit the answer and try to self-evaluate first.
Don't fall in love with your own answers. That's the purpose. Be critical about it. Generally, it is very difficult. If I write something, I fall in love with it. How can I strike it out? I have written it. How can I remove it? Isn't it?
Yes,
You
sir.
have to be very ruthless with your answers. And her second question: how, at what time, how intermittently she should take break?
So I think one advice for that is, like, I'm a person who used to get bored very easily. So if I feel that my input is not coming, like I'm just reading and I'm not able to understand, I will close my books and take a break. I was that clear, because there's no point of sitting with the book and not doing anything. It's better you go outside, you get refreshed. So as far as taking bigger breaks, I used to go out on weekends. Like, I would not say that I would not meet my friends. I in fact used to pack my bags and go to my friends' places for 3-4 days also. But I had my books all along with me. But not necessary that I would study, because if I require a break, there is no point of sitting with the books and getting depressed. Then you need a break, you should take a break. Regarding in a day, I made sure that when I studied, I was not distracted. Like, for example, if I'm studying for even 40 minutes, I had a timer on my phone. I used to use a app which used to restrict everything. No messages, no calls, no WhatsApp. You can't even switch the phone. So I used to put that app. Even in the library, I used to use that app. So, like, if I have a 40-minute timer, I will study consistently for 40 minutes and then take a break. That break is when you get refreshed, recharge, you can come back and study. So, and plus, as I said, I'm very fond of basketball. So I had a slot fixed for basketball. So every day I would leave the library sharp 5:30 because I had to play by 7. So that was something that, so everyone will have their own hobby or their own way of relaxing. You have to have that part, because otherwise it's very difficult to sustain such a long journey. Plus, I think UPSC also wants a person who is more holistic than just a geek studying books all the time, and that is true in the personality test also. So I think a more holistic approach will be more fruitful.
Can I ask you?
Please.
So, like, connected to that, can you just share the experience, like how you dealt with that situation? Because nowadays every aspirant is going through some kind of pressure, either a financial or any kind of pressure. So they feel like, if we couldn't clear, then what will be? So situations like that, how to deal with these situations?
So as I said, after the mains result came, I was so demotivated. I went crying to sir. I was actually crying, like with tears. And then he said that it's okay, you already have a good background, it's okay, you should give another try. Then I took 2 days, 3 days off. I think I went on a trip to relax my mind. Then once I came back, I saw my mark sheet and I tried to analyze that there were only, like, every subject, if I could increase 15-20 marks in each subject, I would get through. This is what I self-analyzed. Then I came here, and Abhishek sir and Vidushi ma'am, they sat down and they said, get all your notes, get everything. And then they figured out that my strategy was flawed, that I was doing a lot and not just focusing on clearing the exam. My main motivation was, I'll study everything, I'll make everything perfect. My main motivation was not to just clear the exam. Take it as an exam, clear the exam. So I think that strategy was flawed. Then I figured that out. Once I did that, it felt very easy this time. Like, if I stuck to the syllabus, stuck to what basics are there, just the basics, just the syllabus, just the previous year questions, I made it simple. I made it simple for me, and that is why I felt more confident. So this time, and as I said, if your intention is right, you won't feel demotivated. Talking from personal example, I had a student loan. It was a very humongous student loan. I worked for a year in Goldman Sachs, and I couldn't still repay all of my loan. I had saved up a lot so that I could continue paying my EMI, which I'm still paying, by the way. So there was this pressure that I had, that financial thing was a question for me also. But I felt that one more year, if I can do it and give it, I'll be able to. And then having that confidence in yourself. For example, even if I'm not able to clear it per se, I know that I'm hardworking, I'm sincere, that I do something else, I'll excel in that. If not this, then something else will be there. So it's not the end of everything, even if you don't clear this.
What I gathered out of your conversation is that anybody should not think of whether I'll be or I can't, whether I can do or I can't do. Your focus should be somehow I have to master the syllabus. That's your job. Selection or rejection is not in your hand. What is in your hand is go and conquer the syllabus. That's it. You have the syllabus in black and white in front of you. That is the surest thing that you can
Yes, sir.
do, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And as I told you, limit your sources. You can't study everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's the biggest mistake what she've done, and she learned it from. I was sharing it to you in the morning.
Yes.
So be simple, limit your sources, revise it again and again.
Instead of reading one thing from 10 different books, it's better to read one book 10 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other question? Yeah, please.
Hello, ma'am. Most of us here sitting, we have nearly 11 months to prepare for the exams, and most of us here are new to the preparations, and we have around 4 hours of class daily, and for those who have chosen optional, we have 6 hours of classes. So, how do you advise us to sync our preparations of 6 hours in classrooms and then self-study? How would you advise?
So this is a very apt question, and see, you have to be smart in smart way of dealing things. For example, if you feel that you've done the class well, right, and you've done this topic, you can in between classes do that. If you feel you've done a topic very well by your own, you can skip the class. I am not saying that you should, but I did sometimes. So you can skip that class. If you feel you can cover it up and you need a second class, I would sneak in into another batch also. I've attended the same class twice also. So you do that. Whatever helps you finish the syllabus, whatever helps you do it in time. So if you feel that you are wasting a lot of time traveling, that is why I sat in the library in between classes. I think one of the main reason was that because I felt if I'm moving out of the house, I should do a lot and then only come back home. So that is why I used to come early in the library, sit and study there also. Plus, if you feel that if sometimes it happens that you feel that you're not understanding a class, you attend a second class. If sometimes you feel you already know that, you can skip it. So you be smart in that way. Plus, whatever time you have to utilize it judicially. I think this has been if one thing that I firmly believe is time is money. It's more important than money. So if you are utilizing your time judiciously, it's more important, it's better than earning a lot of money. So time is more important than money. Having said that, even in the metro, I used to, like, my target was if I'm coming in the metro to the class, I would finish my newspaper in those 20 minutes. So, and I will not read the newspaper otherwise. So you have to limit your time because time is important. As you said, if there are 11 months, you can back plan, which I also did. For example, if there are 11 months to the exam, 3 months you'll just prepare for prelims, makes it 8 months. At least 5 months, within the first 5 months, you should have basic one reading done. See, it's important to attend the classes, but that should not define your schedule. You have to have your own schedule that you have to finish this. I used to do it beforehand even and attend the classes later on. Then classes will act as a value addition. If you completely rely on one thing, then that will also not be fruitful. See, for example, if you are attending classes, there is no replacement for self-study. Sir or ma'am, being a human themselves, can only teach you the basics, the everything. They cannot spoon feed you everything. That you have to do on yourself. It's not that you've attended this class, you've enrolled yourself in the coaching and then it's on them. No, it's not on them, it's on you only. So you just have to gain from them. And in the end, self-study will be important. In the end, you will have to go back, read those notes, make more notes, make small notes, revision notes. You will have to learn those notes. That Sora ma'am cannot do for you. Then sticking to the syllabus will be your job. Like seeing that everything is covered in the syllabus will be your job. Like even if you give a test series, they correct the answers. Learning from those test series again will be your job and not theirs. So all of that self-study is important. So you have to be smart in that way and see what is more important, and you should prioritize accordingly.
I will add to his question. Suppose, see, I was also a student like him. So I was not a very hardworking student personally. So I think that if I am made to sit in the class for 6 hours a day, then I won't be able to give even more than 2 hours for self-study. That is my limitation.
Yes, sir.
So suppose he is also one like me, then after the completion of the coaching or the classes, how many months would he require for self-study?
So I think I would just rephrase the question you also asked, that self-study should be the main thing.
Okay.
You can only gain from coaching. They can help you understand the syllabus, help you understand difficult concepts you're not able to grasp. But it's on you to clear the exam. They are just here to guide you, motivate you, find your mistakes. But then in the end, it's on you only. So if you feel that 6 hours is too long, and then you give extra time. If you feel you've already conquered what is being taught in class, you can skip the class. If you feel you've not understood still, I've attended the same class multiple times in multiple batches. I've sneaked in. I've done that. So you do that also. So everyone will have their own journey, will have their own intellect, strategy. Everything will be on their own. So you have to devise a method which will help you finish your syllabus, be on track.
Yeah.
What was your strategy for covering the monthly the Focus monthly magazine? Because we see that it's a 160-70 pages book, and we also have our classes going on, and we have to revise our class notes and everything. So, what was your strategy for that, for covering the monthly magazine?
So for Focus, I never put a lot of hours in doing the Focus, but I would read it end to end. When I say I read it end to end, I would just mark the important points in the Focus and give it a brisk reading. For example, as I said, you make very small micro notes, so you'd never make notes of Focus because those are already micro. And then even in that, you can mark the important things. If it's something that's very important, if you feel an example is very important, those notes where you have made your revision notes, you can just note those 1 or 2 points down. Otherwise, it should just be that you're aware of what's going on. Because you're already reading the newspaper, Focus is a revision on that. So dwelling on Focus for a long time will not be helpful, because in the end you need a very quick revision. And current affairs questions, you just need to have when you know the basics, the static part will help you cover half of your answer, even if it's a current affairs question, because the static part won't change, and those Focus things will only act as value addition. So you do not have to take Focus as a textbook. It's just a value addition on your foundation.
And even, I guess, you can make use of your downtime, like traveling in metro, etc., to read those magazines.
Told that you're from IIM, you have a very strong management background. So, what made you choose geography as your optional and not management? Because you already were a MBA from, so.
So one thing that in IIM, the management course is very different. So for example, my OB, like organizational behavior, I just took one compulsory class. That was one trimester out of the 2 years, 6 trimesters we had, just one class. And if you see the management syllabus, the whole of paper 2 was OB. And plus I had my work ex in finance. So when we take second year electives, I had a huge amount of finance subjects, and finance was not even, I think, 1% of the part. So it felt like that whatever option I take, it will be new for me. I have to put in that much effort. So then after that, I chose an optional where one reason was that I took up geography because I wanted to take up a humanities subject, having had that science thing, done that commerce thing. wanted to take up a humanities subject because because as I told you, I get very bored very easily. So I thought if I take up a new subject, it will keep my interest going. Plus, there was also this thing that it so happened that the first class was geography here. It so happened that the first NCRT I picked up was geography, and I felt like I'll gain on time. And if I, jumpstart, and without thinking much, I picked up geography, started with it. I was like, करना तो है ही, कुछ भी कर लेते हैं, कोई भी उठा लेते हैं. But I don't think that is a very prudent strategy to follow. And you can learn that from my mistake. So take up an optional which you are interested in. Research that optional. Research the syllabus. Research the previous year questions. See if you are able to understand. You are able to at least understand the questions. You get the gist. You get the idea of the subject. Because for me, it was like a black hole. I didn't know what was geography. I jumped into geography. But then I had to do it. So I did it.
Ma'am, my question is regarding current affairs. As we know, there is a trend of UPSC from last 5 to 6 years. They ask more questions on any subject regarding current affairs. So my question is whether I read newspaper or whether I read magazines. So which is better? And what was your strategy?
So, as I said, you need to be smart and manage your time. So, if my only factor of deciding anything was time, so my newspaper was limited to the time I would travel in the metro. 5 stations, that's it. So, traveling in the metro, 5 stations, and I would limit my newspaper reading to that. And before sleeping, 10 to 15 minutes, I would browse through daily current affairs like initiatives. And focus also, as Sir said, I would read in between class, like cursory reading. So my current affairs strategy was that, because there is no end to current affairs and what all can you read. But then you also have to see the cost benefit analysis. If you're just getting 1 mark in 3, then it's not worth reading or spending 2 hours for that subject. Only if it's in the syllabus, if it's important, you read it. And only note it down, only and only if you feel it is a value addition you can remember. Otherwise, there's no point. Plus, even if you ask mains questions, there are current affairs based questions. But those current affairs based questions are based on a static part in the syllabus.
If your foundation is clear, current affairs is a value addition.
Yeah.
So your basics to be strong. So once you read it once, you'll get it.
Yes, ma'am. For example, I remember GS3 question. There was a question on Glasgow Summit, COP26. But the basics still remains climate change, which you've already done in your static. So if you have to write the problems, why it was addressed, you can write the problems of climate change, which is static. If you have to have the solutions, you can write the solutions to climate change, which is again static. The only addition of COP26 will be the few bits and pieces that you've read in Focus or the newspaper, which you can add as examples. Rest, everything comes from your static part.
One thing I found very interesting, first time I heard from somebody that my newspaper reading timing will be limited to 5 metro stations. वो 5 स्टेशन में जितना पढ़ लिया उसके बाद न्यूज़पेपर बंद करो, साइड करो. It was very good strategy.
It's all about how you plan, how you make time. And one thing is self-discipline. So that's one important strategy what we all found it with Sonali. She never gave up. Though she was supposed to give up,
Yeah.
but she never gave up. But she was sticking on to her own, the self-discipline. That's something very important. Yeah.
For
How
example-
did you motivate yourself, Sonali? You had ups and downs.
Yeah.
So in between, what was your motivation take?
Ma'am, I think the only motivation what kept me going was that I think I had figured out that why I wanted to do this exam.
Purpose of life.
Because I had figured it out, because I'd already had an engineering MBA and worked. Some people are very lucky to get that calling before only. I got it very late, but once you are here, if you guys are here, I think you somewhere have that you figured out why are you here, and if you figure that out, that is in itself a big thing, and that is what kept me going. Every time I thought that I'll make my CV, and then I went back, oh, I did actually make my CV. I was actually already working. Do I want to do that again? No. I want to do this. So I never got distracted in that way.
How
So
do you feel now as a woman?
I think I feel very proud. I feel very relieved. First of all, very relieved because that decisions that I took finally they did pay off. So hopefully I can now do what I wanted to do. Like I'm very passionate about working in education and women empowerment especially. So hopefully able to do that now.
And I guess many students sitting here would be now relieved that they do not need to read newspaper for 2 hours every day. Doesn't it gives you relief? You don't have to know everything under the sun.
So taking on that point, one more thing that I used to do was like, for example, pre-tests were used to be of 50 questions, starting pre-tests, but the actual paper is of 100 questions. So what I used to do was I used to take 3-4 tests together in one day, and I used to try to do as many questions quickly, because if I'm coming here giving a test, why not do 150 or 200 questions and then go back home?
Okay.
So even if I score less, but that habit of doing questions, because the actual paper is 100 questions, then
Right.
sometimes you can push yourself to do 100 questions and not just limit yourself to 50.
Maximum utility of time. Any more questions, students? Yeah.
Ma'am, congratulations. Ma'am, could you please throw some light on how we can include DNS in our preparation, and also whether we should read Yojana and Kurukshetra or some sort of magazine apart from what the institution gives us focus?
So I would say that you stick to one source, because reading current affairs from 10 sources, in the end they will all be printing the same news. Or even if 1 or 2 news you get extra, what is the cost benefit analysis of doing and putting so many hours in something extra, which might not even be fruitful in the end. Especially mains, you can make do of your knowledge that you already have. Pre, if there is 1 or 2 questions extra, but they make sure that if your static is correct, you can clear it. So, and pre, you just have to clear the cutoff. Mains, you can write your own examples. So I never found it fruitful to go for Yojana Kurukshetra. When I started, yes. And first month, I figured out that I don't need to do this. I can't do this. It's not possible only. So one magazine is enough.
Besides focus, newspaper, and I guess my own notes out of like current affairs and skimming through the internet for daily current affairs, what else do we need? Is that all that you do?
I didn't even do this much. This is a lot. But very honestly, I did focus. I used to skim through focus. Newspaper, I've told you, I limited my sources. Didn't do DNS. I just did these 2 things. Because,
Statics were very strong.
yeah.
See her answer writing and a paper, her base was already set. So she was thorough with all the basics. So that's one advantage, and that made her confident to move.
And for current affairs part, when you give mock tests, you get solutions. So if there is something there, I'll just pick it out. And as I said, learning from my mistakes. I had my mistakes Excel sheet. So I used to write it down there. So you can reverse learn. You don't need to read the whole newspaper for that.
And ma'am, when we go through YouTube videos of many toppers, we always find that they are talking about resources like RSTV, LSTV, and Air News. So we tend to get very attracted towards these sources, and we tend to outshine.
I've never opened RSTV. There was one person who was in my board giving the interview, same board, and she, after her interview, said that there was one person from RSTV, and I didn't even know what was RSTV. I knew, but I've never watched. Otherwise, I would have figured that this person is an anchor in RSTV. So, never watched. So, because that is, otherwise it's endless. You can keep on going. But your main intentional goal is not to learn everything. Your intentional goal is to clear the exam. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay.
Ma'am, I had a question regarding optionals, because we all will be giving our prelims next year. So, like, what should be the ideal time? So we can say that yes, okay, by this time we are done with the syllabus and the revision of our optional. So now we can focus on prelims. So what should be roughly the time around next year by which we are done with the optional? So we can say that now we don't need to focus on optional for the time being. We can now focus on prelim.
See, optional, the ideal time would again be you are thorough with at least one reading of your optional before your prelims examination. Because between pre and mains, you will not get the time to do something new. That should entirely be revision and answer writing. Just revision and answer writing, and maybe mugging up some facts in optional because there are some things that need to be mugged up, sadly. So before that, if you have your optional done at least once, you should be able to do it. And for that, maybe if you're joining classes, maybe the schedule is not set in that way, then you take it upon yourself to do it. But one thorough reading of optional should be done before that.
3 months before prelims.
Yes, exactly, sir.
Right. Yes.
You get bored very easily, even I get very bored easily. So how did you guys start, sit for a longer period and actually process and learn stuff?
So I had this problem. My attention span when I started was 5 seconds. So this was a very big problem for me. So I started with very small time slots. I think I remember sitting down for 20 minutes. I used to, and then just take a walk, then come back. So that happened with me also. But gradually you figure out a sweet spot where you can sit. For me, in the end also it was 45 minutes for studying. But later on, when you are writing the 3-hour paper, you should be able to sit for 3 hours, 4 hours. That is required. But you can start gradually. So I remember when I started, I used to keep a time slot of 20 minutes. Then I increased it to 25. But I used to keep a stopwatch that whatever happens, I'm not looking up before 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
The question in the beginning you have to change your mentality from the science background and management to humanities and understand and sitting for long hours and memorizing stuff. So how difficult was it for you to get into this mindset and gradually go on memorizing stuff, and was it difficult or was it just came along?
So I think it was very difficult because again I came from office. After when I started preparation, I came from office. I had no, the maths I did was read emails. So I was out of touch from my reading habit, sitting for long hours, preparing for an exam. So as I told her also, I started gradually. So I used to feel that I've studied a lot. I used to look up at the time and it used to be only 10 minutes. So even that has happened. But then I gradually increased my time. I remember setting my time clock to 20 minutes, 25 minutes, pushing myself every day that I'll just increase my time. So that you have to, and what kept me motivated, I've already told that I had made up my mind. So if I've made up my mind, then there is no going back.
He was asking one more thing,
Yes,
that he is an engineer, isn't it? He's saying that if I choose a subject like humanities, how much do I need to memorize things in humanities? Do you think that humanities are subjects of memorization?
So I would not agree. For example, if geography also, if you understand the phenomena, like engineering, you understand the phenomena, then you're able to write. Geography also, it was a subject, if I understand the story, even if it's human geography, I understand the philosophy the scholars were trying to say, just basic idea of what they were trying to say. You need to understand the concepts very well first. And then comes the part of value addition where you need to memorize. Like what I'm saying of memorization is only when, for example, names of scholars you can memorize. And that too will not be a very big task if you've read that subject or revised that subject multiple times. It just gets ingrained. For example, even if engineering terms, if you read that one engineering book multiple times, I think if you know the concept well, and it's only just refreshing your memory, you should be very clear of the concept first. So, and it's true for any of the subjects.
Yeah, this is a common confusion in many students these days. They come to me also that, sir, what extent we have to memorize things in the optional subject. I don't think that optional subject offers you anything more than 10-20% to memorize. Rest is all conceptual.
Also, what was your strategy for history?
For history.
He is very scared of memorizing history. What was
Okay.
your strategy for history?
My strategy was that I took it as a story. Like the whole thing, I had things like a movie. For example, if Advents of Europeans is the first thing we do, so that what happened, how it happened. I do not remember the details right now, as of now, even if you ask me. But I know the whole story, that why they came, what happened, like a story. If you remember, that means you have that clarity on what was going on. If you have that clarity and continuously revise it, then you will be able to pick out the details also. And it's true not only for history, for any subject. Like even for example, polity. If you're doing say some constitutional part, okay, parliament you're doing, if you can relate it to the current events that are going on, if you can see the defection that is going on, you relate it as a story, then to memorize those article numbers will not take a lot of time, because you know the concept well. You know what is defection, you know how is it processed, you've seen, you can relate it to things. So if you understand the concept well, it is not a lot of memorization. So I think this is a myth that you have to memorize everything, and having to memorize everything means that somewhere you're not very clear on the concepts. Otherwise it's not that much.
Shall we conclude the session? Okay. Thank you, Sonali.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank